How I got better grades my second semester of law school. These are going to sound crazy, and I do not recommend my methods to anyone because they worked for me, but I don't think that they work for most people. First thing I did was in class. I'm gonna start with stuff I did in class, and then I'll go to what I did to prepare for exams. First thing I did was I stopped briefing cases. I relied on things like LexPlug to help me. I think why that helped is because I spent more time on the concept and less time on facts of cases, and then I was better prepared for the exam. Once again though, I know a lot of people who brief cases and still did really, really well. It's just like what works for you. So do not just blindly take anyone's advice. You're going to law school. After briefing cases, the next thing I did is I started handwriting my notes in a lot of my classes. I knew I was gonna miss notes no matter what because my classes were long and I know that I'm going to get distracted. So instead I just prioritized handwriting notes, and a lot of my professors gave us slides, so that's why this was feasible for me. And by handwriting, I mean I used my iPad so I could just extract the text if needed or figure out ways to do that for an outline, but I'm gonna get to that. I don't outline either. First semester, I spent so much time learning how to outline, and I think the way my brain works is when I'm learning how to everything works together, it makes more sense that I do it in practice questions than outlining. So what I do is try and have as much as I can memorized prior to the reading period. And then when reading period starts, what I try and do is then only do practice questions for the most part. Like if I realize I don't know something from doing a practice question, then obviously I'll go focus on it and learn it. But I really try and have everything in my brain that I need in my brain before I get to the reading period. Granted, in classes like criminal law, this was just not humanly possible. My classes, I had no open note exams this past semester, so I had to have a lot in my brain. Okay, as for outlining, let me get back to it. I don't outline, it just doesn't make sense. But as for practice questions, you should be doing practice questions. That's what messed me up first semester. I didn't do practice questions. Even if you think you have no idea what you're doing or if you think it's too early, do practice questions. Use the Quimby ones, use the LexPlug ones, use your professor's old exams are the most important ones. You should save those towards the end of the semester and the beginning of the semester. Focus on like Quimby or LexPlug ones, because at that point you just want to focus on learning the concept. Another thing I did, which is probably a hot take when it comes to prepping for exams, I do like one full practice exam where I'll write out like a full practice question because I know how to write. I wanted to make sure that I have the information in my head and I can spot all my issues. So I'll just run through a lot of issue spotters and find all the issues and then do a little bit of analysis. But like keep it short and simple and concise. And I think that's why I'm able to then on exam day fit so much in, because I don't spend an insane amount of time elaborating. I put the issue down and I analyze as quick as I can in as least amount of words as possible, which once again, I was not doing that first semester. Another thing I did is figure out the classes that work best for your brain. So like I was someone who did really well in criminal law and torts law and did not do so good in contracts and property. And I kind of knew that. So I put a lot of time into the classes where I thought I had a good idea that I would do well in them. And I'm very glad I did that because even though property and contracts are usually the most credits, it ended up working out for me. Just to recap all of that, what I did was I stopped briefing for class, I stopped briefing cases, started handwriting my notes. And then for exams, I stopped outlining, I stopped writing out full issue spotters. I did way more practice questions and I had everything that I needed memorized before the reading period. So I had a very different approach and I just really put the work in ahead of time. The reading period was still crazy, but it definitely worked out for me. That's what I did. Remember, it doesn't work for everyone, but that was my approach. A lot of my friends do extremely well in school and they do it completely different than I do, but that's just what works for me.